Okay guys, today we're going to be simplifying radicals day one. Today we're going to simplify them with no variables and then with one variable. Okay. As you see, a radical basically is a square root. When you talk about square rooting something, they can either be taken by the second square root, third, fourth, fifth, etc. Right now we're just working with everything to the second power being square rooted. Now, the one thing you guys will need is you guys are going to need this chart of all the perfect square roots. So if you haven't written it down, I would do that because they're going to be very important today as we're solving these. In the previous unit, we would take the numbers such as 32 and we would put in the calculator, hit it, and hit the square root button and get a decimal. Today, we're not going to do that. We're going to solve them by simplifying the radical is what it's called. So what you do is you take the number such as 32 and you go back in and you look for a perfect square root that you can take and multiply by something else, some type of prime number, so that we can square root it. So taking a look at 32, I do see that we have a 4. And we could do 4 times 8, so let's take a look at that. So I could break this out and it would be 4 to the square root of 8. Okay, so basically the square root of 4 times the square root of 8 would give us 32. So of course we can simplify the 4 to just be a 2. So there's a 2 and it would be to the square root of 8. Now I see that 8 can also still go down. It is not simplified. So once again here then I know, well, in 8 I could do this one. I'd go 2 because we've already taken it out. Split the 8, square root of another 4 times the square root of a 2. So now to simplify it even further, I can do that square root. So it becomes 2 times 2 to the square root of 2. So I would multiply those on the outside. So this one being simplified would be 4 to the square root of 2. So that's one way you can do it. Okay, so now let's look at for number 9 for 96. So starting to look at your numbers. 1, it doesn't matter. I could probably take 4. I want to see, because I know on 32 I could have done a bigger number. So sometimes it's just playing with your calculator. So I see 4 will go in, but I'm going to try bigger. 9's not going to work. I'm going to see if 16, because 16 is a multiple of 4, and it happens to work. So I'm going to go ahead, because I'm going to split the 96, so 16 square root, the square root of 6, okay, I'm going to switch to a pencil. So then the square root of 16 is 4. I cannot pull out a square root from 6, so that is simplified. No, 6 is not a prime number, but it isn't a perfect square. We want this inside, in this case, our prime numbers to be something that can't be squared. So there's ours for that. So let's go to the next one, 4 to the square root of 64. 64 is a perfect square, so I can simplify it just to be 8. So this becomes 4 times 8, which is then equal to 32. You will have some that work out perfectly. A lot of times we're working with this, no. All right, so let's look. Now I have a number on the outside, but still I got to simplify inside. So something 45, I'm going to split it out. I'm going to rewrite my 3. Square root 9 times square root of 5 will give me 45. 5, there's nothing more I could do. I could pull this out, so it becomes 3. Square root of 9 is 3 to the square root of 5. Multiply your outside, it becomes 9 to the square root of 5. Okay. All right, another one. Again, we have a number on the outside. Now it's a negative 4. I'm going to look to what I can to help simplify this. I know a perfect square root would be the square root of 9. And then times the square root of 3. 3 can't be a perfect, so that would stay. Going to pull that out, becomes negative 4 times 3, because 3 is the square root of 9. And then the square root of 3. Multiply on the outside, so negative 12 to the square root of 3. Okay. Now let's take a look at what happens when we have variables. Okay. If you remember, basically when you do like a square root, like at the top up there, it was 9. It means 3 times 3 equals 9. So the square root of 9 is just 1/3. So that's what we pulled out, is just a 3. You're going to do that same thing when you get variables, is you got to pull them out in pairs of 2. So how many pairs of 2 can you take? Because basically up here, like we took a pair of 3s. So I have just 3. Okay. In this case, it's not going to matter. There's only one m, so it's not going to matter. So look at what numbers I can pull out here. So for 32, we've already done 32 up there at the top. At this time, though, I'm going to do the square root of 16 times 2. So negative 6. Square root of 16 is 4, so times 4, and 2 on the inside. So then negative 6 times negative 4 is a negative 24 to the square root of 2. Don't forget the m is going to have to connect to somebody. Or if you just remember and rewrite it down here, because we can't pull it out, so it still has to be there on the inside. Okay, so now, sorry, excuse me. Let's look at this. So look at your number. 100, the square root of 100 is 10. So I'm going to be able to pull out a 10. Now with these x's, we're looking for pairs of 2. This x squared means there's 2, so I could pull out 1 pair. So that means on the outside, because actually I'm not going to have anything left on the inside with that square root, I could pull out a 10x here with this. So then I'm going to do negative 5 times 10 to get a negative 50x. That one is completely simplified. Now I think you guys get to kind of see something that works a little bit better. So here we're going to look at the 8. I know, well, let's write down on negative 5. When I split the 8, it will become a 4, which is perfect square root, and left over with the 2, which is not. Here again, I've got 3 x's. So 1, 2, 3. Pull them out by pairs or 2. Here's 2, so that's going to become 1. So I'm going to put it out here. Put 2 of them here, 1 of them here. This is what stays in. This is what's going to be pulled out. So this is going to become a negative 5. Square root of 4 is 2. Pull out that pair for 1. Put that multiplication there. And this is going to stay here. So multiply everything on the outside. So negative 10x to the square root of 2x. All right, guys, any questions on the assignment? Ask.